What's going on? Hey, everybody. All right, let's get it going here. Got to push a few buttons and we can go. What's going on, everybody? What a crazy world. Now, I want to share some stuff with you that, we're not surprised that a certain organization within our government knew about certain documents and didn't do anything about it. Who would be surprised by that? I'm not surprised. I know you're not surprised. None of us are surprised. Do me a favor. Hit the share button. Hit the share button. Don't forget to hit the share button. But let me share something with you. This scandal is worse than anything with Nixon. You know, the Democrats are quick to bring up Nixon. I'm not a crook. Joe Biden is, I'm not a crook. Basically, this is like one of the biggest scandals ever. It's worse than Nixon. This dude actually took documents, and they said that he just misplaced them. Well, how do you misplace them at a center, the Penn Biden Center? How do you misplace him there? And then how do you misplace him at his cabinet, at his personal office at home? And then how do you misplace him in his garage, his so-called locked garage? For 6 years, how do you misplace him? And one of the things that I'm not hearing from the liberal media, and I'm not even, be honest with you, I'm not even hearing it from the mainstream media, not even from Fox News. I'm just kind of curious. Will someone ask Obama what in the world was going on? Someone ask Obama. I want to hear a statement from Obama. Because Obama and a lot of liberal left, they all try to make it look like nothing out of the ordinary was happening during his administration. Nothing happened. No scandals, no nothing. Everything was just hunky-dory under Obama. But apparently not. And I'm really wanting to get a statement from Obama. Can somebody ask Obama a statement? Probably not going to happen because Obama's like awfully quiet. And, a lot of times he'll go out and he'll speak, just like he did back in September of last year. He came out, he went to Arizona. He went to Georgia. He went to various places running his mouth. But he's not saying anything now. He's not saying anything now. Now, they're trying to say, in the left, they're trying to say that the docs that President Trump had, that the National Archives delivered to Mar-a-Lago, that scenario is a whole lot worse than Biden. They're saying it's a whole lot worse. Yeah, I don't think so. The National Archives transported the documents from the White House to Mar-a-Lago. That's the difference. The documents, the security classified top secret documents that Joe Biden has, the National Archives did not transfer them to any facility of Joe Biden. They said that aides mistakenly picked up classified documents. So they had to have seen it at some point. They said aides picked up classified documents and they transported them from the White House, from Biden's office. So my question is, why did some of the docs that the aides transported from the White House go to the Penn Biden Center, to a locked closet that's supposedly been locked for 6 years? And why did they transport some of them to his home office and then put some in the garage? Why did they go to different places if they actually misplaced them? And see, they made that statement up when it first came out, when this whole scandal first came out, that he misplaced them. That's what they said. But now they're just trying to stick up for him. And also they're trying to blame Republicans. The Democrats are coming out with all these conspiracies. Oh my goodness. Isn't the timing about all of this really convenient? I'm going to share that with you. But before we do that, let me share something with you from my man Tucker. Listen to what Tucker has a guest on, and they're talking about the difference, right? They're talking about the difference between Joe Biden having these docs that he shouldn't have had because he's VP, he can't declassify any of them, versus President Trump. Listen to this.
Matt Whitaker is the former acting attorney general of the United States. He joins us tonight to assess. Mr. Whitaker, thank you so much for coming on. Explain, if you would, why the Trump case and the Biden case are really not as different as they're telling us on MSNBC.
Well, they're, on the one hand, they aren't different because we're dealing with classified documents and we're dealing with the statute that applies to them and their handling. But on the other hand, we're dealing with a former president who had a lot of latitude while president to declassify those documents that were in his possession. And Joe Biden, as vice president, had no power to declassify those documents that were in his possession. I think it's also an interesting fact in this case, Tucker, that the UPenn documents were in a manila folder marked personal. And so you open it up and all these marked classified documents are in a personal folder. This is not good for Joe Biden. However, I think ultimately, this is going to get down to where Jim Comey was at with Hillary Clinton. And it's going to come down to applying the standard of the statute to the facts as we have them. There's nothing in the statute about locked garages, certainly. And there's really nothing about whether or not you disclosed it as soon as you found it. I mean, Joe Biden had these for, to your point, over 6 years.
Over 6 years. Over 6 years they were there. So, another question that I have, that the National Archives, think about this. The National Archives, they were supposedly beating President Trump up for over a year, asking President Trump for missing documents. The same organization that transported the documents to Mar-a-Lago are now calling President Trump, asking him for missing documents. President Trump didn't transport anything. They did it. And now they're asking him for it. So basically, this is how it comes down. Let's say, the National Archive, they transport the documents from the White House to Mar-a-Lago. And then they said, well, we have some missing documents here. Do you have them? And Trump go, no. So then they send the FBI the first time to go look through all the documents. They don't find the missing documents, so-called, that the National Archive was looking for. So then they leave. And then the FBI tells President Trump put another padlock on the door to make sure it's secure. President Trump said whatever. And the first time he said, take whatever. Take it all. I don't care. But they purposely left some documents there. Well, supposedly the National Archive was still reaching out to President Trump for documents that they said was missing. Did they ever ask the driver of the truck from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, did they do anything with the docs? Did they ever ask them? Did that question ever come up? Right? I want to know. I'm pretty sure other people asking the same question. Yeah, what about them? They actually transport it, because if President Trump doesn't have the docs and he keeps saying, I don't have the docs, the liberal media and all the left saying, President Trump's not cooperating. He's not cooperating. How can he cooperate and give you something he doesn't have? Right? Think about it. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have them. Maybe he has them in some other location because it's probably damaging to the whole establishment. I don't know. But as of right now, all we can do is go by that he doesn't have them, because when they raided his home, guess what? They still didn't find the so-called hidden docs that they're looking for. Because if they did, the FBI would have leaked it already. It wouldn't have been questioned. Now, talking about the timing of everything, right? Because Joe Biden's docs got exposed, but we only found about it here in January. And apparently they knew about these docs back in November of last year. Well, some Democrats are coming out and trying to say that this is all a setup. Now, I kind of agree. I think it might be a setup, but it's not a setup by Republicans. I think it's a setup personally by Democrats. No one knows right now, except for the people who's possibly doing this. But right now, it's all speculation. But when you have a sitting member of Congress like this nut job here, Hank Johnson, and no, we are not related. Listen to what he says, and you can't make it up.
My response to it all is that alleged classified documents showing up allegedly in the possession of Joseph Biden. There's so much that needs to be investigated, and that's what I call for, is for everything to be investigated. But I'm suspicious.
Okay, listen. Now, this is when he gets into it. He wants everything to be investigated. Everything be investigated. Really? Really? Now, hear what he's suspicious about. Listen.
But I'm suspicious of the timing of it. I'm also aware of the fact that things can be planted on people.
Okay, so he says he's suspicious of the timing of it. We're in the middle of January. If the Republicans had anything to do with this, don't you think the Republicans would have released it November 2nd or even November 3rd, the day it was found, if the Republicans had anything to do with it? So where's the timing come into play? Because the Republicans would have let it out there right before the midterm election, but that didn't happen. So what timing is he referring to? Now, he's talking about it's kind of suspicious, right? He's talking about it's suspicious. Listen to this. Now, this is when he's getting to a conspiracy theory, and this is coming from a sitting member of Congress.
Things can be planted on people. Places and things can be planted. Things can be planted in places and then discovered conveniently. That may be what has occurred here. I'm not ruling that out, but I'm open in terms of the investigation. Needs to be investigated.
So is he suggesting that Republicans went to Biden's home and put docs in his home? Is he suggesting that Republicans went to Penn State or Penn Biden Center and put documents in a closet? The interesting thing is none of them are denying that these documents belong to Biden, or not even belong to him, that they were not in his possession, except for this dude. None of them are doing it. All of them are saying that, and even Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was told not to say anything different. Now, look at this one. This is on the Communist News Network. Chucky Ducky Schumer, who is still the leader of the Senate, the majority leader, because Mitch McConnell gave it to him. Mitch McConnell didn't want to have the Republicans run the Senate, so Mitch McConnell gave it to Chucky Ducky Schumer. He goes on CNN and he's arguing, he's kind of somewhat arguing with Don Lemon, because Don Lemon is actually asking some valid questions. Now, Don Lemon is a total leftist. He hates Trump, loves Obama, right? Loves Biden even, but he's actually asking valid questions, and it's getting under Chuck Schumer's skin. Watch.
Joining us now to weigh in on all of this and what's happening on Capitol Hill is Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the Democratic senator, obviously from New York. We're so glad to have you back on set, but we have to ask you about what's happening with the Attorney General now appointing the special counsel and the fact that the White House is acknowledging, yeah, these classified documents were found.
Well, look,
do you believe that he's violated the federal law here?
It's much too early to tell. There's a special prosecutor in each situation. I think President Biden has handled this correctly. He's fully cooperated.
He's fully cooperated. They knew about it in November of last year. They didn't tell anybody. And now it's coming out. And just because it came out, now he's cooperating. They knew about it. Now, what's really interesting is CNN is going to have some dates on the screen, which is really remarkable that they're actually doing this. What in the world is going on? And I think the reason why CNN is getting ready to do what they're doing, what I'm going to show you, I'm going to show it to you, is because it made them look stupid. Because automatically, when they got the first round of docs, they came out there defending Joe Biden. And then the second round came out. It made them look stupid because they kept defending Joe Biden. And the third round is like, oh my goodness, we're a bunch of idiots because we're supporting Joe Biden and he's making us look like idiots. Listen.
With the prosecutors, when the documents were found, he notified archives. It's a total contrast to President Trump, who stonewalled for a whole year. But the point is, we now
see they keep regurgitating that same talking point that President Trump stonewalled for over a year. If you ask President Trump for documents that he doesn't have and he says I don't have them, that's what they're calling stonewalling. That's what they're saying. And he's regurgitating the same thing.
We'll have special prosecutors for both of these situations, very serious people. We should let it play out. We don't have to push them in any direction or try to influence them. That's all I'm going to say. Let the special prosecutors do their job.
Do you support the fact that a special counsel is overseeing this matter now?
Yes. I do. And in fact, I was this when they first, the FBI went to Mar-a-Lago and they said, well, what are you going to say about this? I said, it's premature to comment. Yeah. And I've said it here. So I've been consistent about it in both cases. You have prosecutors, special prosecutors. I support both of them. Let them do their job. I think that's all that should be said. The politicians shouldn't be buzzing around.
Just to be...
Okay, you hear this? The politicians shouldn't be buzzing around, right? This is what he's saying. And he's saying that let the prosecutors do their jobs. The special prosecutors, right? President Trump had to, if I'm not mistaken, President Trump had to go and get a lawsuit to get one. They didn't want President Trump to have one. They were fighting against President Trump from getting one. Even here on the Communist News Network, they were saying, well, President Trump wants a special prosecutor. President Trump wants a special prosecutor. That Joe Biden had to do that. After the third time, they automatically put one in place. But President Trump had to fight for one. Now listen to this, because Don Lemon, he's going to ask some valid. I don't care for Don Sourpuss Lemon, but you have to admit, pay attention. He's going to ask some valid questions.
To be sure about what you said, you believe that the Biden folks are being transparent about this? You think that they're being above?
I think the Biden folks, as I said, cooperated with the prosecutorial authorities from day one, and Donald Trump didn't.
This is our reporting. According to one justice official, said that the White House public statements earlier this week offered an incomplete narrative about the classified documents from Biden's time as vice president, reinforced the need for a special counsel. The misleading statements created the impression that Biden's team had something to hide. That doesn't sound that much different than the former president.
Don, there's now a special prosecutor. Let's see.
Do you hear this? And I'm telling you, and it goes on. It's going to go on some more. And Chuck Schumer is going to get somewhat agitated with Don Lemon because he's asking valid questions. And all he's going to do is go back to the special prosecutor. They both have special prosecutors. Let them do their job. He's deflecting. And let me remind you, the Democrats, along with Chucky Ducky Schumer, if I'm not mistaken, was talking about Trump has nuclear codes. Is he going to sell the nuclear codes to
Russia?
Y'all remember that? And there was no nuclear codes. And they were all spinning the same talking point. And if it was actually something there, again, the FBI would have leaked it. But that didn't happen.
What they have to say. We can have all this speculation and comment. Let's see what they have to say, and let's focus on doing things that help the American people.
But, Senator, I have to say this. You seem much more measured about this than with the Trump documents, because you call for transparency with the Trump documents. You wanted lawmakers to have access to the documents seized from the former president, his residence in Florida, which it seems like you...
The bottom line is, I said that night, it's premature to comment on what should be done.
But Don Lemon just stated a fact of what he was doing. He was saying that lawmakers should be able to see the docs. Don Lemon was repeating what he was saying. And see, he's deflecting, trying to say, well, we need to see all the information. We need to see all the information first. Dude is straight up lying.
And I stick by that. Yes, for President Trump. That's exactly right.
You think that your statements are consistent for both?
I sure do.
For both.
You bet.
Okay.
So you said the president has fully cooperated, and there's no indication that he and the White House have not. But there is a real question about transparency and what the American people deserve.
The prosecutors will get to the bottom of this, and let's let them do it, for God's sakes.
I
know you all want to buzz around and all of that, but
let me buzz for a minute. Okay,
he's a sitting member of Congress, and he's talking about, y'all know y'all just want to buzz around the whole thing with the docs. He's wanting the story to go away. You know very well, if this was President Trump, let me put it this way. If this was Mike Pence that they were talking about, and I don't care for Mike Pence, but regardless, if this was Mike Pence that they were talking about having documents, classified documents, you know very well they would have been going after President Trump as a result of it. Somebody asked Obama, what happened? What happened? Right? Because you know that they would. They really wouldn't even care if Mike Pence had the documents. They would put him on the chopping block as well, but they would go after President Trump, talking about this is negligence on his behalf because he's supposed to make sure everything's under control. This has been over 6 years, people. You mean the National Archives didn't one time, not a single time, say, where are these missing docs? We're not just talking about one doc. They're talking about multiple. And you notice, unless you've seen it, they won't even talk about the number of docs that was in the garage or is in his office, in his home office. They're not even talking about those. Why not? But listen, it gets better.
Let me buzz for 1 minute, and I promise we'll get on to something else.
Hold on, it's not just us buzzing around. You're the Democratic head of the Senate. This is a really important issue. It's not just buzzing around.
You hear me say you're the Democrat head of the Senate. Look, I hate to say this, but I know y'all out there too. I'm like, oh, I don't like Don Lemon, but he has a valid point. I don't like him, but he has a valid point.
But we have, and if there were no special prosecutor, there would be, you might have a different thing to say, but there is. And now we have the law enforcement people who have the power to get all the facts out doing it. I support both. I think we should have a special prosecutor on each. I don't mind your asking these questions, but my view is I'm not going to say anything. Let the special prosecutors do their job.
The question I was going to ask is about the fact that when this did come out, after CBS's News is reporting and the White House came out and acknowledged it, they only addressed the documents found on November 2nd. But they knew at the time about the documents found on December 20th. And that's what begs the question of full transparency. And it's not just us. The Washington Post editorial board, this morning says the same thing, that if the president and this White House answered more questions directly, like that exact timeline, that would, quote, promote trust and preempt this criticism. Would you like to see the White House do that today?
Okay, now before he respond, I want y'all see this on the screen? This is what I was talking about earlier. This is what CNN put on the screen for everybody to see. Now, look at this. In November 2nd, 2022, Biden attorneys discovered docs at Penn Biden Center. They say they informed the National Archives. I'm wondering why the National Archives didn't know about it in the first place. November 3rd, the National Archives, they take the docs. But yet the American people, no one knows. They still keep it under the wraps. November 4th, the National Archives informed the DOJ. A day later, they informed the DOJ. Not the same day on November 3rd, but the day later. Now, November 9th, look at this. The FBI launches assessment. What does that mean? November 9th. So it took from November 4th to November 9th, the FBI the DOJ didn't inform the FBI until the 9th, or did they inform was the FBI informed before then and they still did nothing? Now look at this.
Everything up to the special prosecutors. Their obligation legally was to report things to the archives the minute they discovered them. Unlike Trump, they did.
Now look at this. This is the next part. On November 14th of last year, the AG asked Attorney General Lutsch to oversee investigations. December 20th, Biden attorneys informed Lutsch that the Wilmington garage docs. So they knew about the docs on the 20th. Right? So then January 5th, which was my birthday, Attorney General briefed on investigation. January 12th, Attorney General appoints special counsel to take over pro-Biden attorney flag and additional classified docs at Wilmington residence. You see this? CNN put the dates on their screen. They put the dates out there. And all of this was happening last year, and they didn't tell anybody that it was happening, and then they brought it out, and then you hear Hank Johnson say the timing of all of this, like the Republicans have something to do with it, when the Republicans didn't have anything to do with it at all, because they would have released it back in November when the FBI knew about it. And again, why hasn't the FBI raided Biden's residence? Why didn't the FBI go raid Biden's residence at all? They knew about this. Are there any more docs? Is this it?
Can we talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill as well? Well, it is important to get your perspective on that. So thank you for providing that. What happened on Capitol Hill last week with Speaker McCarthy and the fight and the 15 ballots for him to become Speaker and the concessions he made to the hardliners? They have said very clearly they do not want to just pass a clean spending bill. They want there to be cuts attached to that. How are you going to handle that in the Senate?
Well, look, we always try to work with the...
Okay, so now they're going on to cuts, right? And this Chuck Schumer is happy about it. He's happy. Oh, thank you. Let's get off of that story. Let's get off of that story. Let's not talk about that. Nothing to see here. Let's move on. Let's move on. This is the biggest scandal. And the media, they without them even knowing any information, any data, when it first came out, they all jumped on Joe Biden's side. And all of them look like idiots for doing it. Every last one of them look like straight up idiots for doing it. I guess you would call it a social media platform. It's called Quorum. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's riddled with liberals. And that's the only reason why I go and I'll post stuff on there. Because I'm blackmail and I trigger them, right? Because I tell them the truth. It's riddled with liberals. I mean, it's infested like cockroaches, But anyways, I posted on there about the first docs. And they were all on there. Oh, this is nothing compared to Trump. Nothing compared to Trump. And then I posted the second one on there, and it said, wait a minute, y'all trying to compare this to Trump? Or you're making a comparison to Trump? You're saying there's no comparison. It's still security docs, but Trump had clearance, and Biden didn't. But y'all still sitting here defending Biden, and this is before the third round of docs. And then they were all still defending Joe Biden. And now the most talking point is like, well, Trump did worse. Trump did worse. Trump didn't do anything. The National Archive they put those documents in Mar-a-Lago, not Trump. Well, here's another one. This is a really good one here because the left, they come unglued, and of course, Tucker. Let me bring it up on the screen here. Tucker, he loves exposing these leftists, right? And it's like. Tucker's not libs of TikTok, but he's like libs of news. He's like libs of news. I guess I do the same thing. But listen to what he says here. It's pretty good. Watch.
They always accuse you of the very things they're doing themselves. If there's one rule you can keep on your fridge, write it down, put it in your wallet to evaluate the behavior of the people in charge, it's that. They blame you for their sins. Every single time. The latest example arrived this week when we learned that Joe Biden, fresh from lecturing us about how Donald Trump is a criminal because he had unauthorized possession of secret documents, that very same Joe Biden himself had unauthorized possession of secret documents. But don't worry, it's not a big deal. Unlike you and that despicably orange Donald Trump, Joe Biden is a good person. Joe Biden is so virtuous he has transcended temporal law. It's not a crime when he does it. So that's the frustratingly familiar headline from this week's story, which you've probably seen by now. But the details of the story are actually pretty interesting. So a week before these last midterm elections, Joe Biden's lawyers were for some reason rooting around in a locked closet in the Washington office of something called the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement. And while in that locked closet, Biden's lawyers found a sheaf of highly classified government documents. So the first question here is, why were Joe Biden's lawyers doing this in the first place? And we can't say for sure because they haven't told us, but it is weird. Lawyers don't typically search locked closets. Yours probably don't. But Biden's lawyers did. And we'd guess they did because they understood that Republicans were about to win back the House, and with it, congressional subpoena power. So they were likely conducting a cleanup operation preemptively, trying to get ahead of a scandal they knew was coming. And of course, they hid what they found in that closet until after the midterm elections because there's no reason to influence voters too much with information. So there's that. And then there's the question of the so-called Penn Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania. What is that exactly? The whole idea of an academic Biden Center is pretty funny. Joe Biden is a moron. He's always been a moron, even before the dementia. For decades in Washington, ask anyone who lived there, Biden was famous as the dumbest member of the Senate. People made jokes about it. So why would an Ivy League university name a think tank after a man who can't think and then pay him nearly $1 million a year for not doing anything? Good question. We'll have more on that in just a minute. But first, a word about classified documents. Now, this is not a partisan point, not attacking anybody, it's just the truth. These people you see on television huffing and puffing about vital state secrets, on both sides, by the way, not just Democrats, everybody, vital state secrets. They're either lying or they don't really understand how Washington works. How many legitimate vital state secrets are there? Well, actually not very many at all. In a democracy, the government has no right to hide what it's doing from the public, except under extraordinary circumstances. It's fine to classify the Normandy invasion until it happens. It is not fine to spend 60 years hiding the fact that the CIA was involved in the murder of a president. Hiding your involvement in the Kennedy assassination is not a national security precaution. It is criminal behavior. And it's made possible by a classification regime that was designed not to protect this country, but to protect and enrich our permanent political class, which it very efficiently does.
You know what? And I was talking about that earlier as well. And it dawned on me that they're not hiding this information. And everybody that's releasing these docs that Joe Biden had, these classified docs, top secret docs, they all connected to Joe Biden. They're connected. They're directly. They're either his aides or they're his lawyers. And now all this information is coming out because of them. Why wouldn't they hide this information? Why wouldn't they keep it under the wraps? They kept like Tucker just said, they kept Kennedy's assassination under the wraps for years. People were being called conspiracy theorists for saying that the government had anything to do with it. And then when all of those people that were connected to it, with anybody going to jail, they released the information and come to find out, according to Tucker and his sources, it was the CIA, the U.S. government, that killed a sitting president. That's a lot worse than just some docs. Why would they covered that up? But they didn't cover this up. And actually, people have gone to prison for less than what Joe Biden has done. People have gone to prison for less.
Oh, but our enemies, screeched the morons on TV. If we declassify these documents, whatever they are, if we do that, our enemies will learn our secrets. Please. China already knows our secrets, all of our secrets. The Chinese government has hacked every agency in Washington, and everybody knows that, and nobody seems to care. The Biden administration cares so little, in fact, it just suspended a counter-espionage program designed to stop Chinese spying. In other words, the Chinese can know, but you can't know. Biden trusts Beijing more than he trusts you. So the media's job, its only job, really, is to push back against attitudes like that and to seek the truth. Reporters are the people who are paid, who for a living find out what your government is doing and then tell you about it, so democracy can continue. But there are very few of those left. Julian Assange is in prison for his efforts. Ed Snowden lives in exile. And the news organizations that remain are so thoroughly controlled by government agencies that even the suggestion of more public transparency drives them to hysteria. Watch CNN and MSNBC, for example, react to the news that Republicans in Congress might tell us some of what the thoroughly corrupt intel community has been doing in our name.
A House committee where Republicans can shred at the integrity of the federal government and tell America that your government is spying on you and coming after you, that is at the heart of this tear down, break down the government. We can't trust the government. We're going to topple it. He just gave them a committee platform to have those hearings. And you better believe that is going to be heroin in the veins of Fox News viewers over the next 2 years.
Basically, they're establishing a subcommittee or a committee on witch hunts and deep state conspiracy theories.
And this dude don't have any room to talk. He doesn't have any room to talk. They just released another set of documents of other journalists he was trying to remove from Twitter. They just released another document. This dude has no room to talk. And that's the only reason why he went onto the House floor trying to get them to prevent them to not do this committee, because it's going to find more corruption that he was involved in. This dude is totally corrupt.
This is so extraordinarily dangerous. As you said, they're going to actually, these people want to target America's intel community.
This is a body that of the Congress that we are trying to maintain credibility with, and we are not going to do that by opening up all kinds of suspicions about the institutions in our society.
It's outrageous to tell people the government is spying on them, especially since the government is spying on them. That's confirmed, by the way. That's a fact. They spied on us. But if you want to know what your government is doing, scolds Joe Scarborough, you're, quote, targeting America's intel community. You're unpatriotic. You're a disloyal American if you don't want to be lied to.
Yeah, you're a disloyal American if you don't want to be lied to. That's exactly what it is. You're supposed to believe the lies, and if you question any of it, then you are the problem. You're a conspiracy theory for questioning the lies that they are telling us. And to come to find out, they are. It's not that they are spying on Americans. The FBI going to big tech companies, getting them to censor the American people, and come to find out that they were spying on us, even more so than just that. Well, they're not supposed to be doing any of that, and yet they were doing it. And the main reason why they're doing it, because they become so corrupt, doing all of the corruption, they don't see any problem with it. Like, this is what we're supposed to do. It's better for us to spy on American people to see if the right wingers are doing something, so then that way we can stop them. But it's not the right wingers doing something. It's all of those on the left. Just like what Tucker said, they blame all of us for doing something, but they're the ones actually doing it. Now, let's go to this one. Karine Jean-Pierre. She is one of the biggest liars on the planet. What does the Bible say about liars? I mean, I encourage you to go look it up. Go to Google and type in, what does the Bible say about liars? And she'll pop up. Well, not her face or her name, but it would be describing her 100% when you see it in the Bible. It's her. And there's many like her. Listen to what she says about this, because they were asking her, well, when is Joe Biden going to actually respond to this? I mean, just truly respond to this, because you remember Joe Biden was in Mexico and they were asking Joe Biden there, and he said, well, I hope soon, God's willing, that I'll be able to talk about this soon. If something came up with President Trump, do you think President Trump would say, God's willing, I'll be able to talk about this soon? No, because basically Joe Biden is telling everybody that I have to see if my puppet masters will allow me to talk about it. That's what that's about. So somebody in the press corps asked her when is she going to say something, and she goes, basically she says, I don't know. I don't have a magical wand. Made me think about what Obama said. Listen.
The president has said he hopes to speak about this soon. When can people expect to hear from him?
Don't have, again, that is something that I don't have a magic wand here. I don't know when that's going to happen.
She doesn't know when it's going to happen because she doesn't have a magical wand, right? Doesn't she speak for the man in the White House? She's the press secretary. Isn't that the job? Correct me if I'm wrong. Listen to this one. Because here it's about the garage gate, not pizza gate, but garage gate. Listen to this.
I've been in here almost every day since we got back from Mexico City, standing here taking your questions at length, so that we're not avoiding anything here.
They're 100%. She's 100% avoiding it. Look, and it gets better.
But as far as you know, is it ever okay for classified documents to be mixed with personal evidence?
What I can say, what I can say is what the president has said before, what I have said multiple times. We take this very seriously. The president takes classified information, classified documents very seriously.
How many of y'all actually believe anything that she's saying? Anybody? She's saying that they take the documents very serious, right? Classified documents very serious. Oh, it's been 6 years. So when does that actually happen? When does it actually happen? Only if they can blame it on President Trump. We can say President Trump did so and so, then they can say that. But she's not even interested in actually really, getting down to the truth, because they were trying to prevent all of it.
Does the White House, broadly speaking, have an obligation to share not just with the National Archives, but with the American people when the existence of classified information is found in a private location?
Again, there's a process in this.
But just big picture, not necessarily in this instance, but is it the policy of the White House that they should share that information not just with the National Archives, but with the Americans?
So I'll say this, Kristen. We have been transparent in the last couple of days. Remember, there's an ongoing process, and we have spoken when it is appropriate.
She said they've been transparent in the last couple of days. Didn't they find out about these docs in November of 2022? But they've been transparent for the last couple of days. Not the last couple of months, but the last couple of days. See, she talked to us like we're stupid, and she's talking to the press corps like they're stupid. And for the most part, the press corps, I don't really think that a lot of them even get what's going on because they've been going along with it. All of them in the press corps, they all got duped for believing anything that Karine Jean-Pierre was saying, and even before that, Jen Psaki. And I'm willing to bet Jen Psaki is like, I'm so glad I'm not there. I'm so glad I'm not there. You know Jen Psaki is saying that right now.
Many of you here have been talking to my colleague in the White House counsel. So what the actions that we took were right actions that his team took in dealing with the Department of Justice and also the archives. Look. So she said their actions were the right actions. They knew about this in November, right before an election. They knew about it. And they suppressed it as long as possible. The FBI knew about it. The DOJ knew about it. The National Archive knew about it. The White House knew about it. But the American people had no idea until it's way too late. It's too late.
You guys have answered questions when the press has broken in the news.
Because it's an ongoing process. Because, again, it is an ongoing process. There is a process here. Many of you.
It's an ongoing process to try to figure out how to continue to lie to the American people and to deceive the American people to think that Joe Biden did something wrong. We got to tell them that he did nothing wrong. So it's an ongoing process. That's what they're wanting everybody to believe. It's just an ongoing process. Right. It's ongoing. We know the process. Lie. We know the process. Everybody knows the process. I mean, who doesn't know the process? I mean, who doesn't know? Hey, I'm just saying, I'm asking you, who doesn't know the process? If you don't know, you better know. You need to get to know. I mean, seriously, the process is playing all out right now. They lie every single day trying to get everybody to believe this nonsense. They're trying to get us all to believe it. And it's pretty ridiculous. It really is. It really is. Now, you know how I've constantly told y'all about McCarthy? I still have my reservations about McCarthy. I really do. But I told people, I said, he's going to end up being, I said this, and I'm sticking with it. I could be wrong, but I'm sticking with it right now. I still have my reservation about McCarthy, but I said he's probably going to end up being like Ted Cruz. Because remember, Ted Cruz put his foot in his mouth, and he's been redeeming himself ever since. And he's been coming out hitting hard. I mean, I love what Ted Cruz has been doing, and he's been hitting hard. He hasn't wavered since that foot in mouth. He hasn't. And I said it's going to work to our benefit. What McCarthy just went through, and I said this, that it's probably going to work to our benefit because I truly believe that McCarthy is going to come out. He's going to hit hard because he does not want to be a rhino. And he says, I'm being called a rhino. I'm going to show you I'm not a rhino. And I'm hoping he sticks to this. Listen to what he said, because the press is asking him some questions about the people that he kicked off the committees, you know, like Adam Pencilneck Schiff, Eric Swalwell, Ilhan Omar, for the criminal activity and for the lies that they have done. Now, I want y'all to pay attention, because he's going to, anytime, you know, just imagine if it was Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, talking about different things, talking about removing people from committee, they would show her complete statement. And, you know, even they showed the cameras even follow Nancy Pelosi walking away. They did it all the time, but they're going to cut him off. And I want y'all to pay attention to when they cut off McCarthy.
Why?
You said you're going to let Democrats appoint their own members to the committee, but you've also indicated you're not going to let them.
I was very clear early on. Let me phrase something very direct to you. If you got the briefing I got from the FBI, you wouldn't have Swalwell on any committee. And you're going to tell me other Democrats couldn't fill that slot? He cannot get a security clearance in the private sector. So would you like to give him a government clearance? You asked me questions about Santos. You asked the questions about Swalwell. Not only was he getting a clearance, he was inside an intel committee. He had more information than the majority of all the members. Did you ever raise that issue? No.
See, he's calling him out. They never did raise that issue. Why? Because they just went along with the stupidity. They knew very well when Nancy Pelosi, listen, because he talked about the FBI going to Nancy Pelosi and telling Nancy Pelosi, this dude is corrupt. There's something going on. And she still kept him there because she's corrupt. And the press, they knew about it. And the press didn't even question it. Either they're being willfully ignorant or they just don't know how to do the job. Ask the questions, and they didn't. And he just called him out on it.
Which you should have. You're going to tell me there's 200 other Democrats that couldn't fill that slot, but they kept him on it? The only way that they even knew it came forward is when they went to nominate him to the Intel Committee. And then the FBI came and told the leadership then, he's got a problem.
The FBI told him. FBI told Nancy Pelosi, because he said the leadership. The FBI told Nancy Pelosi, and she still kept him there.
And they kept him on. That jeopardized all of us. Adam Schiff.
Okay, now you hear that? Now he says Adam Schiff, and I want y'all to pay attention to what the Communist News Network does.
Openly lied to the American public.
All right, so we're listening into new House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He's continuing taking questions from reporters, a lot of questions from reporters. This is his first weekly press conference as Speaker. Let's talk about some of what has been discussed already.
So now when they bring up Adam Schiff, they cut it off. And like I said before, anytime Nancy Pelosi was saying anything, they would show all of it 100%, and they would even watch her walk away. But here they cut it off. Isn't that convenient? Talking about conveniency. Isn't it convenient? It's Friday. Wow. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me see. I'm not sure how you say that. Mulani. Thank you so much for the Rumble rant. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. What a blessing. Thank you so much. And then Baby Sleeps. I think that's how you say it. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that blessing. Thank you so much. And then let me look over here real quick because I know I can see them now. Susan, thank you so much for the stars. I really appreciate it. Roseanne, Michelle, Gailey, thank you so much. Mason, thank you so much. Chuck. And Mason again, or Patricia, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the stars. Thank you, everybody. You know, I was kind of expecting that we were going to be a fourth location of docs. And maybe there was a fourth location and they said, okay, that's enough. That's enough. We can't let this one get out. Far as we know, it's been a fourth location, a fifth location, a sixth. I mean, it's probably just more and more. And and I asked this question earlier when I first started. Did they say how many docs were in his office home and how many docs were in the garage? Did they give a number? Because, you know, the reason why I asked, because the first time it came out, they kept saying, oh, it was less than a dozen. Trump had 160. Or they were saying Trump had hundreds of documents, hundreds and hundreds of documents. And Biden only had less than a dozen. But then there's more locations came up and it's making them look stupid. But they haven't said the number of docs in the new locations. I'm just curious. I don't even know how many total. And I'm curious. You know, after 3 locations, I would imagine they would say if a fourth location popped up, I would imagine, okay, that's enough. We can't tell the American people. We've already told them 3. We can't tell them 4 and 5. Am I wrong? I know you're thinking it. I know you're thinking it. This is worse than, like I said, this is worse than Nixon. It's like one of the biggest scandals, and the liberal media, they're all in it. FBI, NSA, CIA, they're all in this together, all in cahoots to undermine and tear down this country. And what's really going to happen, though? That's one thing a lot of people are saying, well, nothing's going to happen about this. And you know what? You're probably right. You're probably right. The only thing that's going to happen is people are going to look at this and they're probably going to end up having some false flag to pop up, something really dramatic to get everybody's attention away from these docs. I don't know. I hope not. But it really looks that way. Or if that doesn't happen, what they'll end up doing is they'll get, you know, this, they'll just bring more information out and they'll use this to say, Biden, you need to step down. Because apparently Joe Biden was supposed to announce that he's running for 2024 this week. But that didn't happen. God bless. Reality check.